Welcome, Mayor Lou Manzo here with the first of our video communications that we're going to use to supplement the daily updates that I've been writing to you so that you don't get bored just hearing from me. We can mix it up a little bit. Um, this will include some supplements to what I'm writing to you on a daily basis, as well as bringing in some other community leaders that I'll interview and we can get to hear from them as we continue to navigate this virus that we're dealing with over these next 30 days or so. Today, I want to start with reminding you that April 3rd, today, is the first initial rollout of the federal funding package that we've all been hearing about. As of this morning, the Paycheck Protection Program actually kicked off. You can look and find that on my update yesterday and have direct links to be able to find everything you need, or you can just Google Payroll Protection Act and it'll bring you right to everything you need. And this is for small business owners and sole proprietors to be able to take advantage of this $2 trillion program the federal government has put in place for continuity purposes to keep everybody whole. So that's important for you to initiate that action as quickly as possible. And today is the first day you can do that. Also, on the government level, I want to remind you that we probably have all received in the mail over the last few weeks the 2020 census card. And even if you didn't, it's important for us to all make sure that we complete that 2020 census form. You can, again, just Google 2020census.gov. That's 2020census.gov. And it'll bring you right to the landing page. And even if you don't have your actual card with your sign-in number, if you just put in your information, it'll find you and it'll bring you up and you'll be able to complete it. It takes maybe not even 5 minutes to complete. So that's important to do. Locally, on the government side, we have been maintaining continuity at the township level as far as business and services. The buildings are all still closed and will remain closed until the governor's order allows otherwise. And we have now already gone back to staggered shifts as far as our employees being in the building or working in their various departments so that we can maintain their safety and all the social distancing protocols. But we are open for business and that will continue. One of the things we're going to be rolling out probably within the next week when it comes to government support locally for our businesses, and that's a focus of ours to try and do whatever we can to help them, will be what's known as our Digital Main Street program. You'll hear more about this in the coming days, probably next week, but it's really geared towards trying to be able to, if possible, to still engage with our local vendors. The restaurants are open for delivery or takeout, and so we want to obviously give you the opportunity to do that and help promote that process. So you'll be hearing about that in these coming days. And then I'll also beat the drum that needs to be beat a little bit more when it comes to the whole social distancing thing that we're dealing with. I know this is difficult, and obviously we all need to go out of the house from time to time to a grocery store or to a pharmacy or to a doctor's office. And I have heard in feedback from my emails that some of you are concerned about those protocols like in ShopRite or the Amish market. So a couple of things. First of all, ShopRite this weekend, I believe on Sunday, is going to go to a limitation of the number of people in their building. Up until this point, they've been following that, but they're going to become much stricter, more than likely, creating lines at certain rush hour periods at ShopRite. The Amish market has done the same. So that's going to kick in this weekend. But on our end, we can still do what we can while we're in ShopRite, in an aisle, looking for cereal or dishwashing liquid or whatever it might be, to make sure that if somebody is standing in front of a certain area, don't go and stand right next to them. Don't go toe to toe with them. Stay 6 feet away, wait for them to clear the area, and then step into that space. So that's something that we got to, be conscious of when we are out in the public. And when it comes to gatherings, home gatherings, the order from the governor now limits even home gatherings of more than 10 people. And I have received complaints from neighbors who are concerned that someone in their neighborhood might have, a party at their house. Look, the last thing that we want to do is engage our police officers to have to go out to a private residence and break up a gathering. So I want you to try and be conscious of this. However, understand that that is the actual order that's in place, and it includes summonses being issued should you refuse to break up the gathering. So I want you to, do everything you can to try and abide by those protocols. Again, it's all about the safety of not only us and our own family, but those around us. And we now know that the one thing that we have in our control is the ability to flatten the curve or impact this virus and the spread of it by practicing these social distancing protocols. So that's really important. And the last point on that is you've seen in my updates that tomorrow, Saturday, between 10 a.m. and probably maybe dusk, a private resident and business owner here in town, K Artisan Photography, has taken it upon themselves to have contacted the Easter Bunny, and they're going to have the Easter Bunny parading through in an open vehicle tomorrow through the streets of our neighborhoods. And as I stressed in my updates, and I'm reiterating here, please do not allow your kids to approach the vehicle. Wave from the front door, your front porch, or your front lawn at best. Don't have the kids gather on a corner when they hear the bunnies in the neighborhood. That's the last thing that we're trying to have happen. And the Easter Bunny knows that should that begin to happen, they're immediately going to have to terminate the ride through town. And we're going to be in contact with them through the process. So please do the best you can to make sure the Easter Bunny, doesn't get mobbed when he's driving through your neighborhood. Okay, so that said, as I told you, part of this program is going to be the ability to bring in other significant people in town and town leaders. And today we're going to have our first guest, and we're starting off with Dr. Missy Peretti from the Harrison Township Elementary School District. She joins us now. Welcome, Missy.
Thank you. Hi,
How you doing?
I'm good. We're hanging in there. How about you?
Pretty good. So let's start with the first obvious question. In the four walls of your house, how's it going?
It's well. It's going well. I think this transition has been kind of similar for a lot of us. Certainly, as parents, this was a huge transition for a number of reasons. I have a 5-year-old pre-kindergartner and an 11-year-old fifth grader. So we have transitioned to that idea of digital learning or homeschooling, while also kind of transitioning from working at the office or at our schools, right, to working at home. So we've had the same growing pains in my house that I think most of our community members have had at this point. Right. My biggest challenge right now is convincing my 11-year-old that I am in fact qualified to help her with her schoolwork, because it's a difficult sell with her, that's for sure. She'll ask me questions throughout the day and I'll attempt to provide her some guidance, and she'll say, "Thanks, Mom, but I think I'm gonna call my teacher."
That's great.
Good, yeah. So I think it's pretty much the same for everybody.
Yeah, and there are challenges. I mean, mine is a little different because all of my kids are grown and out of the house, and so it's just my wife and I in our, separate corners doing business all day long. But again, it's an interesting dynamic that's been forced upon us that we all need to make the best of it. In a way, can kind of almost be a positive, I think, at the end of the day. At least I'm trying to look for that silver lining, Mm-hmm. As far as your role as superintendent and the transition from traditional teaching to digital teaching, tell me about some of the challenges that you faced.
Well, the first challenge of the transition to distance learning came at the very beginning of this experience. The students were in school for a full day on Thursday, March 12th, and then left for the day as normal, and the teachers came in on Friday, March 13th for a planned scheduled in-service. Right. That day, during the in-service, the teachers' work responsibility and the tasks that they were completing were actually changing, and expectations of them were changing during the day. And the reason for that is my full administrative team was in the district working with teachers and supporting teachers. I was called to a Department of Education meeting outside the district, an emergency meeting. And during that meeting with the Department of Education and surrounding superintendents, a lot of direction was coming and decisions were being made regarding the potential, or at that point, the closing of schools. So the timeline was still in question. And a lot of that work was done in coordination with Department of Education and Department of Health over the weekend. But we did know on Friday that we needed to be prepared
Right.
for our students. So our teachers spent that entire day, not just putting together packets, but individualizing the packets for their students
Right.
in an attempt to ensure that the work that they were providing was meaningful. And that at that point, that it kind of reinforced concepts that we had already taught as a school district. So that was completed Friday. Again, the teachers came in to finish that task off on Monday, but that was the first day. Monday was the first day of distance learning for our students. So parents were able to come and actually in the parking lot do a drive-through pickup of the students' work. At that point, we didn't know if we would have to transition to actually digital learning. And obviously we now know we have made that transition as of Monday, March 30th. So it's been kind of that first 2 weeks were pre-prepared work. Well, now we've transitioned to true digital learning, and that transition has certainly had some growing pains for our children. Number one, growing pains for our staff. Number two, and growing pains for our families. As I had mentioned earlier, this is a big difference for our families in the home. But also teachers, our teachers in particular in Harrison. I mean, you know, I've worked in different districts, and I do really feel like our teachers in particular and our support staff, our therapists, our counselors, they're all very hands-on, and they know our kids so well in this school district that it's difficult to then transition to teaching from a distance and digitally when we're so used to that one-to-one kind of traditional real instruction, particularly with our youngest learners. So it continues to be a challenge, but one that I think everyone's getting better at by the day.
Right. So many layers to it. Obviously, that only you could really see all of them, and it's kind of what your job is. When it comes to the individual kids, you know, they're all so unique, each of them. How have you been able to try and address, you know, meeting their individual needs in this new world we're living in?
Well, it started, as I mentioned, when our teachers were completed the task of preparing work for them for those first 2 weeks. That wasn't just run-of-the-mill activities that were the same for every student. They were really tailored to the children's needs. So that really set the tone.
Right.
And the level of professionalism our teachers have all shown right from the start is commendable, as well as the support that we've gotten from our support staff, our administrative team. Everyone has really come together to ensure that the kids have what they need.
Right.
Meeting their individual needs moving forward, we have the child study team who's actually meeting with parents regarding children's programs virtually, which is something we never have done before, certainly, and really have never thought we would have to do. We're used to sitting around a conference table and discussing the needs of the kids, and now we're doing that digitally, and that was immediately implemented. We have our counselors, our nurses who are doing individual check-ins with our families. We have our occupational therapists, physical therapists, our speech therapists who are providing therapy digitally that's starting with our students. Special education teachers, as well as our general education teachers who are reaching out to meet those needs of their individual kids that they've spent so much time building relationships with. They're doing an excellent job of continuing to keep those relationships that connect there. And in some cases, they're even building stronger relationships with our students and families because there's a lot of individual conversation that is happening. And we have these professionals that are on the staff that are willing to put the time in to, number one, learn a whole new way of presenting to their individual students, but also a different way to strengthen those relationships as we continue on their school year. We are never going to get this academic year again. These kindergartners are not going to get a chance to do kindergarten again. So this is their reality right now. And the teachers have really stepped up to the plate to ensure that it continues to be a meaningful one. Another thing that we really had to address that first weekend when we were making that transition to digital or distance learning was meeting the needs of the students outside that academic classroom. What we do to provide support for students, whether again, be it through counseling or the nurse's office, but also we have a population of students who we are responsible for feeding every day. We have a free and reduced population in our community, and we as administrative team needed to figure out how we were going to continue to provide lunches for those students while school looks different during this brief time. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize that had to be determined. So that has included, with the leadership of Rob Charlet through our business office, working in conjunction with Patty, who is our NutriServe site manager, and the representatives from NutriServe, who is our food service, working very closely with our bus drivers, who all desperately miss our students, but they're in some cases delivering meals to our families. Families are coming through with a drive-through pickup so that we're practicing those social distancing guidelines, but we're also getting the job done. So everybody's coming together to ensure that our kids have what they need. And it's not the same for every student, that's for sure.
That's the common theme, isn't it? You know, coming together. And so whatever you have to do to make it work, it sounds like, you know, you're going above and beyond. In reference to, you know, having the students stay connected, is there any specific things that you've implemented to be able to address that?
Staying connected is looking different, obviously, depending on the developmental age of our students, our youngest learners. Our teachers are implementing Seesaw to have that one-to-one connection with our students and our families. As the students grow a little older towards 6th grade, they're using Google Classroom. They're using Khan Academy and some of the other online technology that the students have access to when they're in a traditional school setting. They're continuing at home now. Also, we have teachers that have become experts in Zoom, which is what we're using right now. So again, that we're providing that social distance, but we still can be a classroom. We still can be a school community. But of course, we need to remember, talking about access and ensuring that the kids have what they need. In order for our kids to have access to all of this technology, to have this digital classroom or digital learning experience, we needed to make sure that they have devices. So Sean Schenk, who's the head of our technology department, has led 2 opportunities for Chromebook distribution already, one of which was a little earlier this week. And the third is actually going to be scheduled for this upcoming Tuesday. So parents are able to fill out a survey if they need the technology, and they can come to school. And again, in that drive-through, practicing those social distancing guidelines, that we're able to give the student their Chromebook that they use every day in school. And that gives them access to Google Classroom and Zoom and Seesaw if necessary. But there's a curve. So some parents who maybe thought, well, at the first Chromebook distribution, well, we have a device at home that we can use. What you don't realize is just how much the students would need to be engaged on that device in order to complete these digital learning activities. And a lot of times parents need to use the same device, particularly now, because we're all working from home for the most part. So it really has been a lot of growing pain, but our staff, our students, our parents continue to be very patient with one another. And the transition with all these pieces continues to be pretty successful.
Yeah. The more we talk about it, the more I understand the breadth of the whole process you're dealing with. It appears to be smooth from the outside, based on some interactions I've had with teachers and families with children in the school system and how it's working. But clearly, underneath the hood, what you're dealing with is just an incredible amount of coordination. So you're to be commended on that, you and all the teachers and everybody involved at every level. I know that every year the STARS program is a big part of the school year. Are you able to keep any of that, activity-wise, still connected during this strange time?
Well, one of the many things that our teachers is creative. So although these full school community activities are certainly not going to look the same as they did previously, and probably not the same as they're going to look moving forward, we still are keeping that connection as a school community. And we do have some examples that are going on right now. The first of which is the Butterfly Challenge, that many of our families and even community members outside those who have students in the elementary school setting may have recently heard about. That is our art teacher, Nancy Moran, in our HTS school, our pre-K through 3 building, with the support of Ms. Rodano and Mr. Flexen, our building administrators. And many of our teachers have put this challenge forward to all of our students. And we know that the butterfly is a symbol of endurance, change, hope, and life. And what better example of what we're all living through now. We need to have endurance to get through this as a community. And we know that, you know, at times it isn't easy. Hope, we certainly know that life as we knew it is going to be again. Right now, we're just keeping our full community as safe as possible. And life, you know, life is obviously our main focus here, and our life has changed temporarily, but it will be going back to the way it was, and maybe even better. We may be even stronger as a community if we can believe that. So this challenge asks our students, our families, our local business owners to create a butterfly out of whatever materials you have available, something as simple as a drawing or something a little more elaborate. Families can work together. Simply put a butterfly somewhere in your home, in your window, and that again is that sign of endurance, change, hope, and life. And as we move through the community with our children or one another at a safe distance, we will see hopefully those butterflies popping up all over the community, and we'll be speaking that common language of what that is an example of. So certainly we thank Mrs. Moran and all the teachers who have supported that, as well as our administration, because I know as a mom, as the superintendent, both of the hats that I wear, we're looking forward to participating in that. And I hope that many of our families feel the same way. Also, April is Autism Awareness Month. I know, Mayor, as the mayor of our town, you've stepped in and really participated in some amazing activities that we have as a school district that our teachers are responsible for planning. And again, using that creativity every year, we really get to celebrate autism awareness for the month of April. And we hope to do the same this April, but it's going to look a little different. So Mrs. Lori Hines, who's our supervisor of student services, is working together with our special education staff, our therapists, our aides, our support staff, our other administrators, to really work on some great plans on how we are going to continue to celebrate autism awareness during the month of April. Again, it won't look like it has in the past, and it probably won't look like it will in the future, but this experience may really improve how we celebrate these different things within our school community moving forward. Some other ways that we're remaining connected. Our administrative team are doing various things on social media. Mrs. Filona has mindfulness that she has posted. Ms. Rodano, Mr. Flexen posting support for our parents, support for our students on social media. I know Mr. Flexen did some magic tricks with his kids at home for our kids through social media, and it was a great response. We have our building administrator, Mrs. Hackett Slim, who does Talk About It Tuesday, and the kids are able to kind of respond to her on whatever topic she's talking about that week. We have our physical education teachers who are providing online virtual workouts for our kids that I know many of our kids in the community are participating in and kind of commenting on and providing feedback to one another and to their teachers. There's so many examples of how, as a community, we're staying engaged, that it is that part of this experience is exciting, just to see the life that is in our school community, and that creativity, and people are really making it a priority to stay connected. Not even just one-to-one, but staying connected as a whole school community so that we don't lose that. It's really important here in Harrison, as you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the end, you know, even though it's been forced upon us, that's going to be one of the positive byproducts of this. You know, what's happened just kind of organically, where people have found a way to stay connected, and all the different things that you learn about each other, and even just the way you know, interact. It's going to be, I think, a positive from a lasting effect after all this is over with. And I'm going to take the challenge on the butterfly challenge. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking I'm going to challenge my wife just inside our four walls to see which one of us comes up with the coolest butterfly. We'll put them on the windows, and we'll see.
Perfect.
Yeah, get my kids to do that. So, as I said earlier, you were the initial interview in this program, in this process that we started. So you have set the bar pretty high. So I want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to meet with us. You know, half the battle is you do look good on camera, which,
thank you.
You know, for me, I'm known to go on and on a bit and talk too much. That's because visually, maybe I'm a little bit not quite at that same level. That's the way I look at it.
That's not accurate.
That's my excuse for why I talk so much. But I want to thank you again for, you know, for taking the time out of your day. Any last thoughts before we, you know, call it a wrap?
Well, I would like to thank you, Mayor Manzo, as well as our township committee, our leadership, for all of your efforts in ensuring that we remain connected. You're keeping our community updated, which I know as a community member as well as a school district employee, I appreciate. I know our families do appreciate the updated information. We are all seeing these amazing creative ways that we're keeping hope that we are Harrison Strong, and we will be going back to normal with the tree lighting and the local business support that we have and all of your presence on social media. I know the recreation department is doing the same, that we're keeping our kids engaged even in this new reality that we're all living. So I certainly feel overwhelmingly lucky to not only work here, but also live here and be raising my children here. I say it all the time. To me, I can't possibly say it enough because I know not every community is the same. And the fact that all of this effort is being put to support one another and to keep that feeling of community through this, because this is only temporary. Before we know it, we're going to be looking back on this experience. And I think that through your leadership and our community as a whole, the idea is this is where we are. So we need to make the best of it and enjoy this time with.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. I mean, the Channel 6 piece last night does really, I think, exemplify who we are. And it's not just about that tree, but that's the symbol of light and what we love about this place, and it represents that. And certainly it represents where we'll come out on the other side. So wonderful community rooted in the school system in many ways. And that's big, it really has a lot to do with you and your entire team there. So thank you. Together we'll get through this, and
That's right.
I'll just end with telling everybody what I've been telling them the entire time. Just be diligent, be patient, be Harrison Strong. Thanks again, Missy.
Thank you so much.